for part 2 of my conversation with Lisa Nehring on AI future, jobs, college, and what homeschool moms need to know. So every mom listening right now has been hearing us and she's thinking about her own kids. How should she even begin to think about this? Like, I'm thinking of the mom who's pregnant right now. She has a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old. She's teaching the 6-year-old how to read. Like, how does this right now, this major industrial revolution happening, how does that apply to her right now?
Yeah, I think we have to remember that our brains are not computers and computers are not brains. Computers can process information very quickly and do a lot of really kind of almost miraculous stuff, but only humans can assign meaning. And so the best way to inoculate our kids and ourselves against the Industrial Revolution is to really lean into what makes a human and, embrace that with our family, teaching our kids how to have actual real skills, but also, understanding the arts and their faith and how to treat other people. So not just academic skills, but life skills, social skills, spiritual skills, what are the spiritual disciplines, those kind of things. Because again, a computer can collate information and give you an average, but it can't tell you why anything is meaningful. And only humans can do that. So why is education meaningful? I mean, let's just start there. Why should we even educate our kids? In my opinion, education is the transmission of culture. That's from Will and Ariel Durant. Way back, they did the history of the world during the Second Industrial Revolution. Brilliant minds. And I love that definition because if we're thinking about that as parents, no matter what's going on around us, what culture do we want to transmit to our kids? Do we want to transmit a culture of love and truth and beauty and goodness? Well, we're the best people for that. And a computer isn't the best person for it because a computer is a computer. It's not a person. It's not a brain. And a computer can do a lot of things. It can create art, but it can't assign the understanding of beauty to anything where people can't. And so I think really making sure that we're really teaching our kids actual skills. And what does that mean? Like basic skills. Your kids need to be numerically and linguistically literate. There's been so many stories in the last couple of years of valedictorians turning around and suing their schools because they can't read a 5th grade text, but they're the valedictorian. This is crazy. So it doesn't take that much to teach somebody how to read really well. And if your kids can read and calculate, the world is completely open to them. And I just want to share a personal story to prove how true that is. I grew up in a world that was pre-AI, pre-computer, pre-microwave, practically pre-color TV. I mean, I am that old and I own online companies. Why is that? I already told you, I'm not a coder. I'm not really very techie. I didn't even know my phone had a flashlight for a couple of years. And I turned it on by accident and had to call my son to help me figure out how to turn it off. Like, I'm not a tech person, but I know how to learn. And that is what we have to teach our kids. How do you learn? And nurturing their mind. One of the best ways we can do that as parents is to turn off the computers and not put screens in front of our kids' brains. The research on kids and brains is terrifying. This generation, Gen Z, is actually IQ points lower than the generation above them. Why is that? Because they grew up looking at a phone. And, I've seen this for decades going through the grocery stores. You have a toddler in a cart and they're in front of an iPad. Why aren't they in the stroller in front of the mom and the mom pointing out, like, do you smell this fruit? This smells like, talking to them and engaging and interacting with them, because all throughout time, that's how we raised our humans. And now all of a sudden we're letting a tablet or a phone raise our kids. And this is bad for everybody. It's definitely bad for the kid. It's bad for our relationships. The stats right now are that your kids have more in common with a teen in Taiwan or China than they do with you in their home because of a device, because they're being socialized by the people on that device or the bots on that device and not the humans in their home. So we have to be really aware. I think it's really important to note that all the tech gurus do not let their kids have any kind of access to the internet until they're adults. Okay, that should be really informative to every one of us. And I'm not most of my kids actually grew up and they work online. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm just saying, when your kids are a little informative, don't let them have devices. And then really make sure that they know how to learn and to read and to do numbers and all those kind of things. Spend time reading out loud to your kids. All the old time homeschooling things. do those things.
Oh,
Read out
yay.
loud, go outside.
Yeah. Oh, the old timey homeschool things. Hey, shout out to Summit Health Share for sponsoring this episode today. I love Summit Health Share, partially because it's my husband's company. What I think they're doing over there is absolutely incredible and life-changing for many families. What is Summit Health Share? Well, first, let me start with one of my rants about health insurance. Need I say anything? Probably not. But the copays, the denials, the in-network, out-of-network nonsense, having to get permission to see your doctor, paying thousands a month and then them still fighting with you every time you need just basic health care. I believe so much in the freedom that comes with leaving health insurance and moving to health sharing. Now, it's not health insurance, but it does replace it. And it's been around for over 100 years. With Summit Health Share, most families and companies save 40 to 60%, and they have a 98% customer satisfaction. You get to see any doctor that you want, even holistic ones. No networks, no permission slips. You ladies know how I feel about freedom. I want medical freedom too. Summit Health Share has different plan options depending on what your family needs. You might just need major medical, and that's great. On our plan, we get a little bit more, and we get free labs, free office visits, free prescriptions, and no copays. Our family of 6 has saved $1,000 a month. And if it sounds too good to be true, it's not. It's actually how healthcare should work. We've just been accustomed to overpaying for our healthcare. And a lot of us don't need to do that. So if you are on traditional health insurance at all, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to summithealthshare.com. When you get to the homepage, you'll see the savings calculator. Go ahead and click that. It takes only 2 minutes. And when you see those numbers, what you should be paying for the healthcare you need, you are going to be grabbing the phone so fast because healthcare is a serious thing and you're going to have really personalized questions and they are used to answering all of them. Tell them all of your concerns, all of your questions, and they will tell you full stop if this is going to be a fit for you or your family. And tell them that you listen to the show because I want you to have the VIP treatment. Go to summithealthshare.com today and the link is in the show notes. This podcast is also brought to you by the Christy-Faith List. Now hold up because I want you to know what this is. I'm really proud of what the Christy-Faith List has become. It started really scrappy, just compiling recommendations because I was fed up with guessing which businesses and providers and doctors weren't going to give me a hard time when I walked through those doors. And I had tons of friends and family members with nightmare situations where they felt like they were walking into an ambush situation just when they were trying to get help for their families. And I was sick and tired of the discrimination that homeschool families were getting. But since then, it has grown into a massive directory of colleges, businesses, doctors' offices, reading specialists, occupational therapists, homeschool graduates that are in business themselves now. You name it, all in one place. Because why wouldn't we want to do business with the people who share our values and actually want to work with homeschool families and not give us a hard time? It is completely free for homeschool families to search. And if you are a business owner or part of an organization that loves homeschool families and wants to reach more homeschool families and grow your business in that way, please sign yourself up. We want to know who you are. It's the place where homeschool families support the people who support us. Go to the ChristyFaithList.com today. Well, it's so funny because over a couple months ago, you were coming through town and we had dinner and you were talking about how young adults, this just struck me. And I've had a conversation with several people about this since because I haven't forgotten it. You were saying that young adults don't have social skills. And it's okay. I want you to talk about this for a second because, well, one, it will just be fun because homeschoolers are always accused of not having social skills, but it's not really us that's the problem. Right. And would you unpack that a little bit? Because I think that's really important. There was a situation recently where there was a kid who spends a lot of time on the internet and was just really struggling with real life relationships and didn't know. This was a kid that was in public school. So would you unpack that a little bit? Like what's happening with our young adults? Because you were even talking about their dating life.
Oh my gosh. It's really a crisis, honestly, because our kids, if you go out in public, my daughter and I, we had some errands this morning and we went to a restaurant we really like and sat down and got a quick lunch. And the people next to us had their phones out and they spent the entire time waiting on their food with their phones in front of their faces, not interacting, not talking to each other. Mm-hmm. We've seen that for a long time where you'll see families out in public and they'll all be staring at a device, not interacting and engaging and talking with each other. Now, interacting with humans is awkward. I think we all have this idea that, oh my gosh, we got to avoid the awkward. And I grew up in a time where life was just awkward. It was, like I said, it was the dinosaur era. But if you wanted to go out with a guy, you had to bring him home and talk to your dad. You want to talk about awkward? My dad was 6'3". He was intimidating. You know what I mean? Like, and you had to sit there and go, I like this guy, Dad. And he's like, why do you, and drill the guy. I mean, life is just awkward. And that is what builds resilience, is doing the awkward thing and getting over it and going, I can do another awkward thing, or doing a hard thing. And so we're also worried about not allowing our kids to have discomfort. And I think we think if we can help them avoid discomfort, we're going to quell their anxiety. But the research is showing that this is the most anxious group of young adults we've ever raised in America since we've been taking this data. Like, it's really a crisis. Our kids are so anxious, especially since 2020, when the world just went on Zoom and didn't really come off of it. And so we've got to get our kids off these devices and put them in awkward situations that we help them walk through, and also help them do really hard things. When I was growing up, it was just assumed you were going to do hard things. And if you were too much of a weenie to get through it, that was a you problem. Nobody got you a safe space. Nobody helped you figure out, you know what I mean? You just had to work it through. And I think we've got to give our kids some challenging situations. It's called actually the Goldilocks principle. And it means put your kids in situations, and academic situations, social, spiritual, the whole bit. Not too easy, not too hard, just right. But just right is one step beyond what feels comfortable for us. And so growth only happens in friction. We have to get comfortable ourselves with friction so we can allow our kids to have a friction-full life, not a friction-free life. And so I think that's one of the things. It's okay for your kids to struggle a little bit. And I'm not saying to the point of crying. I mean, there comes a point where maybe you should check out, like, do they need additional help or whatever? But I think we've got to be really intentional. It used to be that we could just outsource our kids' growth to the experts, to the school, to the church. But those organizations are being disrupted too. Academia is in complete and utter chaos right now. It's the same in the churches. And so we have to be really strategic about our kids. Now, I like The Apprentice show. I'm on Celebrity Apprentice now. I'm always late to the party, so I'm watching it 15 years later. But it's so fun. And one thing that he does is he gives them a project. And if we've decided to homeschool, we've decided we're in charge of our kids' academic project. And that's comprised of a number of different tasks. So the overall project is what? That's a question we all have to answer. What do I want my kids to know or be or have when they graduate or when they leave my home? And then break it into tasks. What do I need to teach them this year? What do I need to outsource? Now, I've worked with Olympic athletes before, and one thing they all have in common is that their parents are incredibly intentional. They get coaches for everything, not just the sport. They get academic coaches, nutritional coaches, life coaches. I mean, these 10 and 11-year-olds have life coaches. I mean, I didn't grow up in that world, so that's kind of crazy thinking to me. But I know that you worked with these families yourself, so you know exactly what I'm talking about.
We were the coaches.
We were the coach.
Yeah.
Which is why you're so great. You're doing what you've been doing all these years. And so parents, you can be the coach. You can hire the team. So it is so easy to hire a team. You can say, I don't have enough money. You don't need money at this point. You can resource your family and your kids with as much creativity as you have. And some of it will take money. It's either time or money, but you have either time or money, or a combination of both. So what do you want to resource your kids with? Which might be a really long answer, but I just want to encourage parents, like, don't be afraid. You're raising your kids right now for a reason. So you can be at peace knowing that's not an accident. That's exactly what's supposed to happen. So be curious and focus on the main thing. But you and your spouse have to realize and understand what the main thing is for your family.
Yeah. And I think that if you're a homeschooler listening today, you're already there, or at least halfway there, because you're rejecting this idea of the government decides what a kid needs to know in this particular grade level. And let me tell you, if there was ever a reason to homeschool, there isn't a better reason than right now, because there is no way the schools are going to catch up with the teachers unions and all of that red tape just to make a single ding dong decision. And half the time our kids are guinea pigs anyway. Did you hear that now the whole thing is, I just did an episode on it. Now the whole thing is, you know how there was the science of reading? Well, they're now doing the science of math because the math scores were so low on Nation's report card, the lowest since the 1970s. And they're like, oh, wait, maybe the Common Core math wasn't such a good idea. We're like, you think? Us homeschoolers who never did it, we're like, no, our kids need to know how to compute. Like they need to know. So anyway, we don't have to get on those hamster wheels, on those trains, but also we can be really intentional. That's the one thing that I've loved about homeschooling, because I have 4 kids and they are all such different learners. It's how I've been able to pivot when I've needed to pivot, which you can't do in any type of an institution, which I think is really cool. I just find this conversation so fascinating because I was talking to a friend the other day and she's like, I'm so scared of AI. I'm so scared. I'm not letting my kids on AI. They're going to cheat on their essays. And here I am thinking that is like the tippy, like, do you know how big this iceberg is? And, you know, I want to talk about something because we have had our kids start using some AI for composition. Let me tell you why. One, it's a great brainstormer, but 2, I think that even how we teach writing is going to change because I use AI a lot and I have had to get really good at knowing how to prompt AI. I've had to become a completely different type of writer just to prompt AI. And let me tell you, it takes all of my intelligence to be able to prompt AI for an output that I want. Like we recently did a project. It was for Scott's company where we were having it write code for us and the specificity that we needed in our own writing skills to be able to do it. So what do you see? I mean, of course, we're always going to graduate kids that know how to write a 5-paragraph essay, but what do you see in terms of that discipline, like writing? What is that going to look like in 10 years?
No. You know, we have this conversation at True North every teacher's meeting, like every single one and a lot of in between. Okay. But really, we've got to teach our kids. Again, I want to get back to skills and I want to name 5 skills that are going to be so important.
Should we get a notebook?
Maybe. Make it really easy. It's 5 C's. It's critical thinking. And you just touched on that because you can have AI write code and test it and then publish it and you have a company, like literally. I mean, seriously. So, but we have to teach our kids critical thinking skills. And again, that means when they're young, stay off the computer because you don't build critical thinking skills passively taking in information. You learn critical thinking skills by solving problems, which is an active brain activity. So doing puzzles and board games and perplexers and solving math problems. You might not use algebra, but algebra is a great critical thinking skill, formal and informal logic, et cetera, et cetera. Critical thinking skills.
And I don't want to interrupt you here, but you know, they took proofs out of geometry. I can't tell you, like often, you know, parents, their kids will say, I'm never going to use this. And I'm thinking to myself, the cognitive, what you are learning, what your brain is doing is so valuable right now. This is absolutely worth it. Are you ever going to do that later? No, you'll use a calculator later. But the exercise in itself is where that value is. And then the other thing you mentioned, critical thinking. I want to park here for just a quick second because I have a bone to pick. Okay. Asking a kid to compare and contrast the 2 characters in the book. That is not critical thinking. And you hit on that, right? And then when you go to teacher school, they're like, make sure you incorporate the critical thinking in every lesson. And they're like, what do you think about blank? When the kid knows nothing about blank and then they're asked to form an opinion on something they shouldn't be forming an opinion on because they don't know enough. And then the teacher can check the box that was critical thinking. Let's stop for a second. What is critical thinking? Because I want the moms to be able to spot the fake stuff and the real and know what the real stuff is.
Critical thinking is being able to take a lot of information, which a computer can do, and diverse information, sort it out, curate it, understand which information is worthy of looking at and which isn't, and synthesizing and synergizing to come up with a solution for something. What do you think about that as a definition? I'm just doing this on the fly.
Yeah, sorry, I put you in the hot seat, but no, yeah, absolutely. It's problem solving.
Well, it's problem solving, right? And I think like what your whole thing about what's your opinion? We're in a crisis right now because I know several women who are like in their 30s and 40s, and they're like, I did a lot of research, and this is what they mean. They found something that agreed with them and read article and article. So they read 30 articles that all agreed with them. That's not research. Research is looking at the plethora of information about something and sorting out and coming to a conclusion based on what you are bringing to the table. That's the difference between, confirmation bias and critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people confuse the two. An opinion isn't necessarily critical thinking. You can form an opinion from having critically thought about something, but go online anywhere and you see opinions without any iota of critical thinking behind them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I felt this way, so I have an opinion. That's not critical thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Your feelings can inform your critical thinking, but it's not the same. So yeah.
And this is why you're still hearing people in classical education saying, give your kids formal and informal logic. This is why they're still saying it. So because that seems so abstract and not useful, but why is it useful to give our kids those classes?
Okay, so informal logic is super fun, and you're just doing fallacies, and you're going to teach your kids fallacies, and they're going to point out all of yours.
Yeah, it's so that's fun. It's fantastic.
Yes, we've both been through that a couple times.
Yeah.
Formal logic helps your kids understand syllogisms as well as truth and validity. Now, one thing, I didn't know this till I actually taught formal logic, and it was really difficult for me to get my brain around. And so it was really actually a critical thinking exercise for me. Mm-hmm. But you can have something that is valid, but not true. I mean, think about that for a minute. So these are the kind of distinctions that critical thinking really teaches our kids and helps them understand for the rest of their life. Somebody can say, I'm presenting an argument. You can, well, that's valid, but is it true? Because if it's not true, then it doesn't matter. I mean, it depends on where our value system is. But from my value system, me and Chuck Norris are in the same camp, baby. And there is a truth with a capital T.
Yes.
So I think we have to be aware of some of those things. And I want to encourage parents, if you're really teaching your kids some of these things, it could be really hard and uncomfortable for you. I've taught my kids a lot of things that are tough. Like I've had to learn them or relearn them or decide that they're important or not important. And that's okay. You don't have to have all the answers to teach your kids. You can open the book and you can wrestle through it together. You're going to wrestle faster because you have more time in the world. You understand more things and you have more tools in your toolbox. But you're going to get to a point with homeschooling, especially where your kids are going to get smarter than you in certain areas. Mm-hmm. Both my boys can run circles around me and pretty much anybody else I know about history and geography and theology and the Bible because they just took off with it. Mm-hmm. My daughter's a foreign language kind of gal, and she can run circles around anybody with philology and foreign languages and stuff. So, if you really teach your kids some of these skills, just assume they're going to take off way above and beyond you. But it's worth wrestling through the hard part to teach your kids these skills.
Yeah. And one thing that I think you and I are on the same page is I think there's even a revolution happening in homeschooling where you and I have talked about it. We really feel like, and we want to change the homeschool culture. It's already looking different. It's already changed. I think that's why moms look to us too for guidance because homeschooling doesn't look like it did 20 years ago. I hardly know any families where there is a traditional stay-at-home mom and a dad provider, for example. But also what has come along are better programs for homeschooling. Right. And so like we do this, and both Scott and I get to work out of our home, which is completely different than how work was done 30 years ago. So we can pinch hit, trade off, sit with this kid while you sit with that kid, And so I just want you, mom, to be encouraged that you're not alone. If you're working right now and you're like, how would I ever homeschool? That whole concept of sitting with your kid 7 hours a day, like that was back when they had to homeschool without computers. Like this is not how any of us are doing it. And I would even argue, in fact, I do argue. I taught a masterclass on this, on fostering independence with your learners. That it's not good for you or your kid if you're sitting there for 7 hours a day teaching them. It could be indicative of a learning issue that you need to address, but for a typical kid, that's not doing them any favors, right?
The other difference is you have communities like Thrive. We did not have those in the 90s. I mean, we had Park Day, but honestly, we knew people had gone to jail. So we were really on the lowdown on the Park Day even,
Yeah. So stop and explain that because I know what you mean by that, but tell them, explain to them.
Yeah, we would get together once a week at the park. Literally, we started out homeschooling in California. And so we would meet at the park for lunch and the kids would play and we would go over the Scholastic book orders. That was Park Day. But now you have online communities and you can, you have talent like Christy ready and willing to teach you about education and emotional intelligence and all sorts of things right from your own home. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. I think what you're doing is fantastic, and reaching people. You can live anywhere in the world and have access to somebody like you. That's a huge difference in the homeschool community.
Yeah, it's amazing what we're doing in there. We just love it. And what you're doing as well. So for the family who just can't let go of college, which is valid, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like the traditional sense. Scott and I are educated. I have a graduate degree. I'm an academic homeschooler, rigorous, in fact.
Yeah.
If a kid is going into college and getting a degree right now, what degrees should they be looking at and what degrees should they not be looking at? Homeschooling 4 kids means I'm juggling roughly 24 different subjects at any given time. And a few years back, during a particularly busy season, I hit a wall. I needed some serious help with the heavy lifting of teaching everything myself and managing schedules for 4 kids. That's when I found BJU Press Homeschool, and we've loved their courses so much that we keep going back. Some families use them for everything and love it. I use them for certain subjects. Either way, total mental load relief. Here's what my mornings look like now. Let us take science, for example. My 3 girls do that one together. They fire up the lesson taught by a real teacher, well-produced, actual teaching, not just click through busy work. And I sit there with my coffee, watch them, or make breakfast, and we discuss the big ideas. Every BJU Press homeschool course prioritizes critical thinking, a biblical worldview, and hands-on learning. I just guide the conversation and pick which activity or pages or projects we want to do, and everything's already planned out. They have an online platform included for you called the Homeschool Hub, and it keeps everyone on track. Both me and my kids, without micromanaging or nagging. And when I have questions, I call my Homeworks consultant. These people don't just help you get set up, they're available for you whenever you need them. It's like having a homeschool expert on speed dial. Go to bjupresshomeschool.com or click the link in the show notes to find out more. People are always curious what curriculum I use for my own family. And honestly, it changes. We've tried a lot over the years. Some work for a season and some completely miss the mark. But there is one that's stuck. CTC Math. It's a full K-12 online math curriculum, and it's won oodles of awards for a reason. It's just that good. I use it for all 4 of my kids, and they couldn't be more different when it comes to math. Finding one curriculum that actually works for all of them, that's been nearly impossible. You know that pit in your stomach when you realize the curriculum that you just invested in isn't working again? Yeah, that was us until this one. The genius behind CTC Math is that it's adaptive. The questions adjust to each kid's level in real time, so they're always challenged but never crushed. And mama, it does the teaching and grading for us. Yes, you heard that right. That's a homeschool mom's dream. Well, especially for me when it comes to math. I would think it's too good to be true if I hadn't been using it myself. And it's not just me. Here's why it's become the go-to for thousands of homeschool families. Free diagnostics show you exactly where to start, access to all grade levels so your student can fill in any gaps or move ahead, short video lessons that keep your children engaged, automatic grading with instant feedback, and progress reports so you know exactly what's happening without hovering. Math used to be our hardest subject. Now my kids do it independently. Here's the best part. Our listeners get 50% off. Use the link in the show notes to do a free trial or to get that half-off deal. Don't spend another year kissing math frogs. This one stuck for us, and I have a feeling it's going to stick for you too.
Well, I would really focus on degrees that you have an end goal for. So something that takes a professional license is going to be probably fairly safe in some of the economies that I mentioned beforehand. Now, accounting is probably going to, I don't know what's going to happen with accounting, finance. It's just such a strange time, but law is probably not super safe. Yeah. I would say anything in the mental health field, but again, it's a really politicized, in other words, very liberal profession. But anything you need a professional license for is probably going to be okay. But I would really make sure your kids know what they're going to college for and then research that particular school. What kind of foreign money do they have coming in? How are they doing financially? Are they going to close while your kid is there? And interview the professors in the field of study, because certain fields of study are really getting hit hard by foreign dollars for a reason. So parents, be aware of that. But I don't know that I would say any particular job necessarily at this point, unless it's really STEM heavy or in the medical field. Biotech is going to be really huge too. that you probably need a degree for. Other than that, I would say certifications, honestly, over a degree.
Yeah. And I'm seeing that too, because right now, like if I was thinking about hiring a personal assistant and my first thing is, well, I need to know how adept in AI that personal assistant is. Because
Yeah.
I know that what used to take me 4 hours, I can now do in about 20 minutes. And so
Yeah.
as an employer, why would I pay someone 4 hours to do something?
Mhm.
So I think too, that's something to keep in mind in terms of wisdom for the future is whatever your kid is interested in, figure out how AI is going to adapt and change that
Mhm.
thing. And then your kid can be an expert in the AI adapting of that thing.
Yeah.
So
So here's an interesting thing to think about along those lines is that, yeah, AI is going to change things, but digital detoxers and gamification kind of experts, these are two very interesting fields in my point of view. Digital detoxers are going to be a burgeoning field. And what does that mean? Helping people get off their device. I'm not kidding. And just kind of do a brain cleanse from all the digital input that they have. This is a real job that's coming up in the middle of nowhere. And gamification too. How do you use game theory to really motivate people and stuff like that? So there's a lot of really interesting fields that you can self-educate on that you really don't need a degree for. And really, again, I just want to tell parents, like, what is the problem that you're dealing with and find a solution to that. Do you need a degree to find the solution? Yes or no? It's that easy.
Yeah, yeah. And even if that person is using AI to solve your problem, because, okay, so like this is just, and I don't mind getting personal, but I was interviewing somebody yesterday for this thing that I needed to do for a next project. And because I'm maxed out on, like, I'm about to head into travel season for speaking and I'm starting my next book and all these things. And I'm like, I could absolutely do this myself. Right.
Yeah.
But I am I'm maxed out on even the AI using that I do. Right. And so when this person was presenting to me, she was showing me her deck and I'm like, I know AI helped her make this deck. She was showing me some of the stuff. And I was like, and I know she's using AI to help her, but I need her to. I'm now maxed out. So and I don't know if there's a term for it yet I think entrepreneurs in particular got really excited about a year ago. I can do this with AI. I can do that AI. But what we're finding is I am maxed out on all the things that I can now do myself that I now need people to do that.
To help you with.
To help me with the AI technology.
Yeah. Exactly. And gamification really helps people stay motivated. So they do the thing and they do it faster and they do it with more precision. So it really capitalizes on that human economy of we're going to get every ounce of your ability out while you're working for us. But digital detoxers come in and go, but you still need to breathe and think and be a human. You know what I mean? So again, these are two problems. How do we get the most out of our time? And how do we stay human and available to our people? You know,
yes, this brings up an important point. So number one is last week I was scrolling on TikTok and I saw an ad for a detox and they were saying that they're gamifying the detox, which is like so cool. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really neat. And when I just taught a 3-unit class to my co-op on digital literacy, I had them watch The Social Dilemma. That book, that movie, The Social Dilemma. Yeah. And I think it really opened their eyes to how the algorithms really learn you. And people that don't have critical thinking skills are people who are very easily controlled.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Read chapter 3 of my book. Because I talk about this is kind of why the public school system was invented. It wasn't invented to make your kid a savant. It was invented so that to support the government in what their goals were at the time in the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
And so, but I just also, when I ended the class, I made sure to tell the kids, this will never nourish you. This technology goes back to what you were just saying. Technology is never going to nourish your soul. There's actually studies that tell us what does, though. Like there's that 100-year-long study out of either Yale or Harvard, I'll link it in the show notes maybe, where they figured out that it's your relationships. That is what, and not a bunch. They actually figured out it was a very small number of intimate.
Yeah, like 5, I think, or something crazy.
Yes, it was that. Yeah.
Kind of weirdly the size of a nuclear family, maybe.
Yeah, I know. Go figure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the things that nourish our soul, like rest, And I was guilty of this last night. I was so stinking tired, but not tired. And what do? I start scrolling, but scrolling is not rest. That's not
Right.
resting your brain. It's escape, and you don't feel better after it. And we all know this because we all struggle with it. And so, yeah, I think that's really interesting. Some ladies in my community are doing like screen detoxes, social media detoxes in particular, because it's so, watching a beautiful film is a whole different neurological experience than scrolling TikTok as well. So it's also
Honestly, I hate to say this, but the research is on short form videos are really bad for the brain. And if you just think about it, like your kids can actually watch a cake being baked, somebody getting beaten up, somebody reading the Bible, or somebody screaming Nazi chants, all within less than a minute. As they're scrolling. And they don't have the frontal lobe to really kind of sort through. They don't have the critical thinking skills to say, this is worthy, that is not, this is holy, this is unholy. And so it's really messing with our kids' brain. We had talked about the 5 C's, and we only talked about critical thinking. I don't know how long.
Oh my goodness. No, let's go.
I just want to go through really quick.
Yes, absolutely.
But critical thinking, I mean, I'm right there with you. I teach your kids informal and formal logic. It's one of the best things you can do for them. The second one is communication skills. And this is not just listening skills, but it's speaking and writing skills. It's persuasion. The number one thing most employers want from a new hire is, can you sell? And that is just the art of persuasion, because we're all in the selling field. We're selling our spouses on the vacation. We're selling our kids on math. We're selling the employers on giving us a raise. We're selling our customers on buying our thing. So it's transactional, and it's just how well can you communicate with others, and can you do soft skills and hard skills? But really, communication is a dying art, because we're doing LOL, JK. I don't even know all the things. I use like 5 of them. But writing out complete sentences, a lot of kids don't know grammar anymore. And grammar is a critical thinking skill, honestly. They don't know how to spell, which is, again, I mean, English is so wonky, but again, it's a critical thinking skill. So teaching your kids really solid communication skills, how to write, how to read, how to think. If you can write well, you're thinking well, but also how to listen. And again, your opinion isn't the most important thing in the world. So sometimes just shut up with your opinion. And just let somebody else talk.
I mean, and I know we've just talked a long time, but people actually don't want to hear you. They want to be heard. I'm like, in general, people just want to be heard. And honestly, even though I talk a lot because I run a podcast, I'm always asking myself, what is she struggling with right now? How can she feel seen and heard with what I'm about to share with homeschooling? Like, I'm still trying to achieve that, even though I'm doing the talking. But yeah, absolutely, the communication. And what's so interesting is, be very careful, because you talked about the grammar, and I was walking my daughter through finding the difference between a PN, a predicate adjective, and a predicate noun yesterday. And I was watching it tickety-tockety right in the brain, and I'm thinking, this is really cool. So, as though people will criticize, they've studied the diagramming sentences doesn't matter anymore. Well, okay, fine. But what you need to realize about an education is you are developing the mind, and the mind has neuroplasticity, and that is her categorizing as fast as she can to decide if it's a PA or a PN, because she has to know if it's an adjective or noun and all this and what type of verb was there. That is so valuable just in and of itself. Okay.
Exactly.
So keep going.
Okay. So critical thinking, communication, creativity. And a lot of us think we're either born creative or we're not, but creativity is a skill. And the skill is just this. It's simple. What are the problems and how do I solve for them? I mean, that is down to its essence. I mean, we're made in the image of a creative God. And so we all have creativity innately in us, but some of us think that maybe we're not that creative. But you can teach your kids creativity. And I think you should, because of this high-tech world we live in. What happened in 2020? Everybody went back to YouTube and they watched Yo-Yo Ma play his violin. We listened to Jean-Luc Picard recite Shakespeare. We watched people dance. I mean, we all went to the arts because the arts nourish our souls. And when the going gets rough, and it always will, we go to creativity. That's what keeps us going. That's our imagination. I mean, if you look at what happened in World War II, the people who survived with their souls intact, they were the ones who had the imagination to think, this will end. We're going to get over it. We're going to survive. And so we've got to teach our kids those creativity skills. Plus, the creative person is the one who is going, okay, AI is coming at me fast and furious. How do I pivot? And being able to pivot is going to be one of the number one skills our kids absolutely need. So the fourth is collaboration. We live and work in a global gig economy. Now, Christy and I met online, and then I saw her in a line in Texas. None of us, we don't live in Texas. And I was like, I said to my daughter, there's Christy-Faith. And then you walked by my thing and we started screaming at each other because, I guess that's what we do.
Yeah.
But we've been friends ever since. And I think that is so cool. Like, you can have so much talent in your own home because, you can meet people from around the world with the technology that we have. So we've got to teach our kids to collaborate in unique and unusual ways. My husband met somebody from Israel years ago because he heard him on a podcast and called him up. And we've been very good friends since. My kids have had amazing opportunities. They've traveled internationally. My daughter's fluent in Hebrew. I mean, I could go on and on about all the results of my husband making this phone call, but we all have that capability of being really collaborative right now. So figure out how to use it and use it for your benefit. And then most importantly, I think, is character. We have to teach our kids that even though we live in a world of avatars, who you are in line behind an avatar needs to be the same person you are in grandma's living room. So if you wouldn't do something in front of grandma or say something in front of grandma, don't do it online. And we've got to teach our kids integrity because there's a lot of crazy things happening in the world. And I don't want to say anything too negative or what's going on to exploit our kids, but there's a lot of exploitation directed at our children. And so we have to teach them really, if something happens that they're uncomfortable with and they feel ashamed and embarrassed about it, they need to come talk to us like ASAP. Again, back to collaboration. We're their partner. We're on their team, no matter what happens. And so if they have a breach in their own character, they're not alone in the world. And we've got to teach them that no matter how many people say that they are and blah, blah, blah. But those are the 5 C's. And if we can focus on that, our kids are going to be okay.
Yes. And I want to also end on a really positive note because one thing I think is going to happen with all of this, because nowadays you don't even know if it's a deep fake.
Yeah, exactly.
The deep fakes, you could kind of tell a couple years ago. Yeah. Now you can't. What I think is going to happen, and I honestly hope it does, because I think it would be best for humanity, is that we're not going to be able to trust what's online pretty much at all. And it's going to drive us to in-person community. It's going to drive us there. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a good thing. I even want it to drive in-person sales, honestly, and then we'll have people interacting with one another again. And I think that the pendulum always swings and we get very excited about this. And oh my goodness, you can make an AI video. I think right now, I'm sure it wouldn't look good. Maybe it would have fewer wrinkles, but I could make an AI avatar of myself and put a script in. I think that technology is here.
It's already coming. Here.
Right. And so already I was asking my social media team, I was saying I want to kind of start is there going to be a time where we have to put on the top of my videos that this is not AI? This is actually certified or something. Is that coming or what? Because we can't trust anything. So I think that there are benefits to, of course, I think there is going to be more jobs in the long run. I think that your word disruption is so accurate. So it can feel very scary right now, especially if you're in one of those fields. But I do think you're right. That skill of being able to pivot. And you guys, listening right now, everything we've talked about today in educating your children, have you caught that it's all skills? This is all skills, right? And so just keep that in mind as you're shopping for curriculum. And is this curriculum content obsessed, or is it actually wanting to help you build your children's skills? Maybe if you weren't planning or you were thinking formal logic was irrelevant, maybe rethink that. Right? Because that will give your kid an edge. Let me tell you, people skills, doing whatever field they're interested in, get them interning in those in-person relationships. Because I think that young kids in their teens and 20s right now, they don't know how to communicate with each other. And it's shocking to an adult when he's so personable. Oh my goodness. Right. So be encouraged, mama listening, because I think honestly, well, homeschooling is, I think more people are going to homeschool than ever have in
More
our
than ever.
future
Oh
because
yeah.
we're just not buying it anymore. And I'm just excited about what you're building. Would you share a little bit though? I feel we talked about all these abstract things. Lincoln recently joined your dual degree program at True North Academy. This is where he is getting his degree. He's chose business. He's getting his business
Mhm.
degree, his bachelor's degree accredited, as well as his diploma at the
Right.
same time with some extra coursework. Would you just take a moment? Because I'm sure moms are curious. They're
Yeah.
rethinking college. We were. What is
Right.
it and what are the benefits?
Yeah, so we started this program 2 years ago, or we're partnering to bring this program to you 2 years ago. And so kids are taking high school classes, they've been modified, and they're taking 10 classes a year. So there's 6 live classes and 4 self-paced over the course of a calendar year. So they don't have to do it all during the school year. And then they go into a private college portal, they take a test, and then they accrue credit. So when they have a certain number of credits, they earn either an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. And it's really our response to what's going on with college and how we can provide meaning, but more importantly, skills for our students, because I do believe the degree still matters. They can graduate from high school with both a transcript and an accredited high school diploma and a transcript and an accredited college degree at the same time. So they're 17, 18, and 19 and then they can start a business. Several of our kids already have their own businesses. They're going to go all in when they graduate, or they're going to apply to graduate school. They have their undergraduate degree done at 18. So they're going to finish graduate school when they're like 22, 23, 24, instead of 28, 29, 30. It's a half a decade more of earning that they're going to have available to them and no debt. And that's one of the beautiful things about this program is that it's less than the cost of a college, high school in most states. Now, I'm in South Dakota, so our private schools are probably less than a lot of areas, and this costs less per year than 1 year of a private high school, and you get 2 degrees at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, these colleges are partnering with us because they see the handwriting on the wall. They're desperate for students who want to complete the degrees. They want students who will complete the degree because if you don't, it messes up their school profile, which means they don't get rankings or federal money. And it's a thing.
Yes.
So they're very forward thinking and they're saying, we want students who will do the work and who are going to think outside the box. And we're going to provide a great program. And so that's what we're doing. We really try to make sure that we know our kids. They get to know the other students in the program. The teachers know them. We require videos on. And so it's been a lot of fun. We have students from around the world at True North Academy, and the dual degree program is growing. We just added an associate's degree last year. So you can earn a 2-year degree if you want to in the program as well.
And then how is this different than other homeschooling programs out there right now where you can get credits? Because that's
Yeah.
clarity. Because at my co-op, moms are like, wait, what's Lincoln doing? And that's the question I'm answering a lot. Is
Yeah.
how is this different?
How is it different? So you can go to a college, probably local, any of your state schools or several other homeschool programs that have dual credit, and you can take a class and and you can earn 3 college credits when you earn 1 high school credit. Like you can do biology or college algebra. Those are pretty common ones, some of the gen eds. Then when you apply to college and you go to a 4-year university, you can transfer those credits if the college will accept the credits. And it's completely up to the college. So it's just like an AP exam. The college might or might not take the AP exam. So you spend a lot of time and money investing, but you have no guarantee that the college will accept it. Now, I tell parents all the time, if the program says we'll accept it, get it in writing on their letterhead. Don't just say, well, I talked to that admissions counselor three years ago, because nobody cares. So now they might accept the credit, but it goes into a gen ed or electives and it doesn't apply to the degree. So now you're paying for more credits. And so none of my kids actually did dual credit in high school. I think my one son did speech, which cracked me up because he did a video recording and sent it in on his garbage little phone.
Yeah.
That was his speech class. None of my other kids did dual credit because I really thought it was a waste of time. We're going to spend double the money, double the time. I really wanted them to learn skills. So we did theater and politics instead. I felt like they got real world skills from that instead of trying to, double up on the credit. And in my opinion, that's a lot of what AP is too. It's a lot of stress for the kids. So like a biology class, you're going to use a program like Apologia probably. It's a really good college prep class. An AP biology, it takes Apologia. The kids have to learn that. And they have to memorize an additional 1,500 facts about biology. That's the AP biology exam. And you take that exam, you have to pay for the prep usually, and then the exam, and then the college might or might not accept it. And if your kids don't get the score the college wants, because you can get between 0 and 5 on the AP exam, they might get a 3, but the college will only take a 4. I mean, so it's like, I don't think a lot of parents realize that the educational world is very money driven. The remedial education system is $1 billion market. The AP, the tests, ACT, SAT, these are $1 billion industries. And they're making a lot of money off of our kids and our parental insecurities. So parents, you don't have to stress about all this. Find somebody who's going to help you reach your academic and vocational goals for your kids. Somebody that you can trust, like Christy or me, and let us help you create a pathway for them. I'm not even kidding, because there's a lot of people out there that don't really understand all of education. And you and I both have, like, I worked at a private graduate school. Like it's competitive, and like some of our kids are really, they need to go the competitive route, but it's a small percent, it's not everybody. And so how are we going to work with the rest of our kids? I mean, that's the plan. Help them create a strategic educational pathway for your kids and work the plan.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to say we knew her when Lisa Nehring, one of the very first to make the dual degree for homeschoolers. I think this is really the future of education.
I'm excited,
especially with the cost. Like, what is it now? $100,000 to put your kid through school, and
maybe a lot more than that. So the average cost is like a low cost college for 1 year is 18 to 25,000 per year.
Yeah.
I just want to share something my daughter said to me, my youngest daughter. And again, when my oldest kids were going to college, it was a different world. But my youngest daughter went to college. She went to a private class school for a year and got great scholarships. And then she went to a small liberal arts college on the East Coast. And she said it was one of the most demeaning experiences of her life, which, oh my gosh, that just I had to sit down with that for a minute, because that kind of broke my heart a little bit. She said in the Comp 1 class, they read 2 70-page books and wrote a reflection paper. She came to me and said, I did more in 7th grade than I did in my college comp class. Why am I doing it over? And, and she did. She did. Yeah. So parents, we've got to be aware that the industrial educational complex is all about getting our money. And maybe you want to spend your money buying your kid a house instead, or setting them up in a business, because you could buy a boomer business and they could have a 6-figure job at 20. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Well, and because I follow some of those TikTok creators, and there was this one gal in her 20s, and she bought a boomer business for $40,000, and she goes, I make $10,000 a month right off the bat. And she goes, my employees were already there. It already made. So I think that we got to think outside the box in the future readiness for our kids. And I think more and more of us are just being dismayed by this whole college route. And, I met Scott at Biola, and we were on a get your roommate. They had these things called guy rads, and it was get your roommate a date. And my roommate got Scott as a date, and that's how I met him. So there are things but also I don't think our experience that we had like that is our kids. Even if they do go to a traditional college, I don't think that experience is going to be the same, not as wholesome, just not the same. And I did have to let that go. But you know what? We've already let go of prom. Well, we can do a high school prom. But the point is that we can create other more amazing, just as amazing experiences. We just don't know what they look like yet. And that's really hard when you can't see them. So be encouraged, homeschooling parent listening right now. There are lots of alternatives for your kids to set them up for success. That's something both Lisa and I are so have alignment on, is we want to help homeschooling parents set their kids up for a bright future, and we'll stop at nothing to do it.
I mean, it's true. Listen, our kids need friends. Like that's so self-serving to me, but listen, I love making money. It's so fun to own a business. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a capitalist at heart, but honestly, I want your kids to succeed.
Yeah.
And I want Christy's kids to succeed, because we need a community of success in the world, not just for our country, but for the world. The world needs hope, and homeschooling is a great way to raise our kids to offer hope to the world. I really do think that. I believe it.
Yes. All right. So we will put a link in the show notes, but how can families reach you if they want to know more about True North?
Yes, you can go to truenorthhomeschool.academy and we offer free advising. You can do free future focused advising or the associate's or dual degree. And I just want to assure you, we really do listen to what you're doing with your kid. So you're going to leave with a personalized learning plan for your student. Of course, we'll tell you about our stuff, but it's not a big sales pitch. It's really, we want you to leave with a personalized learning plan. But truenorthhomeschool.academy, and I'm also over at it's not that hard to homeschool.com. We have some big Facebook groups, but our contact information is on both the websites, and I'd love to hear from you.
Great. Well, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Christy. I appreciate it.
You have my heart.